Now, of recent times, child protection challenges have almost become endemic in our society, and we need all hands on deck to deal with the issue. Plan Ghana published a report on sexual abuse among 100 children in December 2011, and the heading was Ghana Abuse. The report revealed that out of the 100 molested or abused cases, 53 actually happened in schools. So 53% of all the molested or sexual abuse cases, 53% of them all happened in school. Now the 47 remained that happened in other places. They all didn't happen at home. Some happened at church, some happened at home, some happened on the farm, some happened in the market, some happened in other places. So to think that the school accounted for 53% is alarming. It's very, very alarming. Now, about 2 years ago, Joy News also reported about a head teacher who took, and I'm sure many of us may have listened to these news. I'm sure my session I could just give a narration of stories of child abuse for the entire 1 hour of my session. Now, about 2 years ago, Joy News reported about a head teacher who took 31 pupils to his rice farm across the Oti River in the northern region, somewhere around Saboba. Now, one of the boats in which the kids were traveling capsized, and all the children got drowned. Now, when I listened to the news, the head teacher had been arraigned in court. I don't know what became of the issue. Then we also have issues of bullying. Recent bullying reports in some senior high schools have become a grave concern for many parents and guardians. I mean, I don't want to mention the names of the schools because investigations were ongoing. I don't know the outcome of the investigations. But some of the schools, the bullying is such that when the third years, they know that they're about to finish, they will actually beat you for nothing. They would give you like 50 pesos, and they will tell you to go and buy water for 20 of them. Then you tell them you don't have. Then they will use the hook of the belt, and they will just beat you. We have cases of where children have been put in chop boxes and thrown down. All these are happening in schools. I have 2 short clips that I want us to watch, and then we'll get into. I was telling Pastor Avonyo that if we watch the clips and then we don't say anything, it's okay. It's okay. So I have 2 clips. If you can help me show it, project it. I'll just narrate it. The girl is 8 years old.
My mom said no one should touch my private part. My until I'm married.
Please, can you hear it?
No boy or girl should touch me. My mommy said if anyone wants to make me.
Alright. So let's go. So 2 and 0. So what's this now? 0 2. You got it again. Clap for yourself. That's such a brilliant, beautiful girl. And you know you are beautiful as well, too. Wow. You know what? You're going to be my girlfriend. I'm serious. You'll be my girlfriend.
What's that?
It's just nothing. It's for big girls like you who are now above 8. How old are you? You're 8. You're a big girl already. You know, what it means is that you're going to be uncle's favorite. Yeah. See, I don't want to teach you only mathematics. No. I want to teach you biology too. At no cost to your life. You understand? You know, I want to teach you the part of the body, your breast, you know, how the functions in biology.
Oh, stop. If you touch me, I'll tell my mommy.
Hey, baby, I just like it like this, baby.
Stop it.
Stop it. Tell her you must be big girl. See, I promise you, you will enjoy biology class more than mathematics. I'm telling you, let this be our little secret, okay? It's just our secret, you don't need to tell anybody, just that. And also, I will buy you sweets and chocolates and shawarma.
My mommy said no one should touch my private part. My private part belongs to me and no one else until I'm married. No boy or girl should touch me. My mommy said if anyone wants to make my private part public, I should tell her immediately. So I will report.
No, Stella, you shouldn't do that. I understand you're talking about.
So move it a little. I'll just narrate the story. Move it a little.
She's just being overprotective. But that's what I want
Forward
to
it.
do to you.
Forget about the sound.
Biology.
Forward it.
Yes.
Forward it
I'm glad
towards the
you are
end.
getting what I'm talking.
Here. Just look.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, God!
Don't worry, you just practical. You sit on my lap, okay?
Mr. Thompson! What is that? I told you. I don't hide secret from my mother.
Okay.
So you? What does this small child have that is attracting you? You're such an evil being. What kind of devil? You are the devil.
It was biology I wanted to teach.
God.
Ma, it's the devil. I'm sorry, ma.
Imagine you. Officer, take him away. No, the other ones now said you will rot in jail.
All right.
You will
I
rot
think
in
it's
jail.
okay. That's all. I think it's all right. So, I think you understand the story. Yeah. 8-year-old girl, this
Hi, friends.
old man engaged to be teaching her mathematics. On that day, he said he will be teaching her biology at no cost to the parents, and they'll be doing practical. But you see, the thing is that this girl had been empowered. So even though he led the man on, he had told the mother. And then on the D-Day, when the action was going to happen, they made arrangements and the police came to get him. Put that at the back of your mind. Please show me the other one. As for that one, forget about the sound. I just want you to see. You can't hear the sound at all because it's a CCTV footage. So this is a preschool caregiver. Okay.
Forcing a little girl to clean her desk, and the blows follow. The third victim is barely 2
So
years
the
old.
three
She is
kids.
being forced to sleep. Her mother says she informed the principal of the bruises on her child, but was told she was imagining things.
It makes me
All right. This is a very short one, but you also saw it. I mean, this is a preschool caregiver, and the CCTV captured it. The mother was saying every time the child will come home, she will see marks and signs. And then he will complain to the school, and the school say, oh, we'll look into it. We'll look into it. Until the mother insisted that she wanted to watch the footages, because on the particular day when the child came home, there were so many marks, and the child told her that this is what the teacher did. So she came to the school insisting that she wanted to see the footage, and this is what was revealed. Praise the Lord. In this session, we'll try and look at what is the biblical basis for child protection and safety. We will try and gain an understanding of child safety and protection. We will try and see if we can understand the importance of child protection and safety in schools. We will look at some current best practices in child protection and safety in schools. And then we'll look at the role of schools in ensuring child protection and safety again in schools. Now, children, we all know children, because of their immaturity and the fact that they depend on us, that makes them very vulnerable to abuse. Any adult can see the vulnerability of a child and abuse that child. It is very easy to mistreat children and be cruel to them, to hurt them, and regard them as insignificant in society. They are so little and powerless. You know, they couldn't defend themselves even if they try. So child protection is foundational, as I mentioned earlier. It's foundational and essential to a child's proper development. If a child isn't protected, every aspect of his or her life will be affected. No child can progress well in areas of education, health, Apostle Doctor told us, safety, or having even good relationships. For some people, because of abuse in their childhood, even when they grow up and they marry, they cannot enjoy marriage because of the scars and the negative impact these abuses have on them. And most of them, they grow up being afraid all of the time. They are afraid that they will be abused. They cannot trust anybody because they are afraid that anybody will abuse them. Child abuse may take many forms, but generally we can categorize them into 4 different types: neglect, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. Any child can be subjected to one or more of these forms of child abuse at any given time. Now, we all agree that parents have the primary responsibility for the care and protection of their children. However, anyone working with children also has clear responsibilities in this area. Now, when a good portion of a child's day, as Apostle was telling us, a good portion of a child's day is spent in school, it becomes the job and responsibility of schools to make child protection and safety a top priority. Many schools these days, especially in the cities, will go to school at 6 a.m. And for parents who want to beat the traffic, as Apostle was saying, they will even leave home as early as 5 a.m. And they will drop off the child in the school maybe by 5:30. And then the child will be there. The other day I was in the school, then the parents called and said, oh, I'll be late a little. Then one of the teachers said, this parent who says he will be late a little, the other day he said he will come at 6. Mommy, you watch, he will come at 8:30 today. That boy came to school around 6 a.m. And then the father, true to the teacher's word, the father came around 8:30. You know, so if you look at this particular child, majority of his life is spent in the school. In fact, there's a trend these days that some schools even have a drop-off session. So the children, they bring some children to the school. They are not students of the school, but the parent is busy. They are going somewhere. So like Saturday, they are going for a funeral. They don't have a nanny. They don't have anybody. They come and drop the child Sunday, from church, they have to attend a meeting. They don't have anywhere to send the child, so they drop the child. So when you look at the trend and where the world is going, a lot of the child's life is spent with the teacher. And that is what Apostle was talking about, saying that we have a general duty of care to ensure that these children who are kept in our care, that their safety and protection is our top priority. Teachers are particularly well placed to observe and monitor children for signs of abuse. They are the main caregivers to children outside the family context and have regular contact with children in the school setting. Teachers have a general duty of care to ensure that arrangements are in place to protect children and young people from harm. In this regard, young people need to be facilitated to develop their self-esteem, their confidence, their independence of thought, and the necessary skills to prevent and deal with possible threats to their personal safety, both within and outside their school. So this child is 8 years old, but because she's been empowered with skills and how to go about it, she was able to prevent herself. Now, there's another story of, I don't have a clip of that, but I have that story firsthand. There's another story of an 8-year-old child, it didn't happen in the school, of an 8-year-old child who was brought from the village by the uncle to come and school come and stay with him and go to school. Now, from 8 years, according to when the story was told me, from the 8 years that she came to live, years old, this uncle had been abusing the girl. And when I was interacting with the girl, I was asking, so why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you talk about it? You know what she said? She said to me, I thought it was normal. She thought it was normal. That, it was part of the duties that as a good girl that she was rendering. And when she reported, when she was growing up, and then she started realizing that this could be wrong, and so she started rebelling, then the uncle would, I won't mention the church, the uncle will take her to the church, and they will say she's becoming demon. And when they stand on the platform and they have opportunity to talk about their teacher, what do you want them to say? I want you to think about that. When these children have, and they will have the opportunity, with all the education we are giving them, with all the prayers being said over their head, they will get the opportunity. They will get the platform. So when they get the platform, what do you want them to say about their teacher? It's food for thoughts. So we need to give them skills to be able to protect themselves. So school management boards, when it comes to child protection and safety, school management boards is your responsibility. Proprietors and owners of school, it is your responsibility. Principals and school management teams, I know there are principals here, school management teams, we have the primary responsibility for the care and welfare of the pupils. Some of us think that if a teacher abuses, some of us owners or head teachers or principals think that if a teacher abuses a child and something happens, is the head of that teacher which will rule. No, you won't even find that teacher. By the time the issue is boiling, you won't even find that teacher. So we have the primary responsibility to ensure that there are safety and protection protocols in school. Abuse issues seem to be more complicated as caregivers, including teachers and parents, often become confused about the concept of child abuse and that of child discipline. Where do we draw the line? As a result, caregivers and parents abuse children in the name of discipline. So for most of these people, their favorite verses of scriptures are in Proverbs 13:24. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. They forget that that same rod that is referred to there is the same rod the Bible talks about in Psalm 23. Thy rod and thy staff, it comforts me. It's the same rod. So we'll talk about it as if we have time. And then the other favorite scripture is also Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of the child. The rod of correction will drive it far from him. Amen. However, discipline is a process of instilling good and acceptable behavior and not to cause injury. Now, when you discipline a child, the ultimate goal is to instill proper behavior. The goal of discipline is not to inflict harm or pain. So there are two different things, but the line is very, very thin. So due to this misconception, child abuse has taken center stage in the Ghanaian society. Abuse of children takes various forms: defilement, physical, psychological, or verbal. I think Apostle talked about it. Psychological, verbal, and verbal abuse and child labor. There was a school that a parent came to make a complaint that since my child started attending the school, her language has changed. Everything everybody does, I'll beat you. Everything everybody is, shut up. Everything everybody is, and the one is saying, this language is not from my home. So what Apostle was saying, we really need to take it serious. Bible says that our speech ought to be seasoned with salt. Even when we are dealing with children, let's not use abusive language on them, because they will learn. They will pick it up. And when they grow up, they will do it better than you did it. Because isn't that what we are doing? We want them to be better than us, isn't it? So if we are using abusive language on them, when they grow up, they will do it better than you taught them. So let's not do that. Amen. Now let's quickly look at the biblical basis for child protection and safety. The Bible emphasizes the importance of caring for and protecting children. It provides principles and teachings that can guide individuals, institutions, and communities in promoting the well-being and safety of children. Now, let's look at some biblical perspectives. When I finish, I would recommend to you a book that you can have further reading. So, some of the biblical perspectives that I want us to look at very quickly is the fact that, number one, God loves children. Bible says that their angels are always beholding the face of God. Children, we say it with our mouth. Children, they are God's friends. So the Bible teaches that children are valued and loved by God. And if you want to try this, you give a prayer topic. If you have a prayer topic, if you have taught your children how to pray, give them the prayer topic and let them pray for you. You will see how the answers come very quickly. So they are valued and loved by God. Jesus welcomed and blessed them, emphasizing their significance and innocence. When you read Matthew chapter 19, verse 13 to 15, Matthew 19, 13 to, we will not read it. Matthew 19, 13, it's a very common passage of scripture where children were being brought to Jesus so that he would put his hands on them. And the disciples were driving them away. And Jesus said, do not drive them away from me, for of such belongs the kingdom of God. Sometimes I wonder, why do we think that as for adults, we have a right to come to Jesus so that he will lay his hands on us, but we think that children don't have that right? Okay. So, but let's remember that God loves them. The second one is that it is the responsibility. The Bible places child protection and safety, the responsibility of child protection and safety, on parents and guardians. So it places a strong emphasis on parents and guardians to train and protect their children. It encourages parents to provide for their children's physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. You can write down Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 and Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. And another biblical perspective is also that the whole issue of child protection and safety, God considers it as a community responsibility. I remember many years ago when you live in a community and your child does something wrong, the other neighbors can even correct the child, because it is believed that the child belongs to the community. But now I think that these days those things are changing. But the Bible places the responsibility of child protection and safety on the community. So the biblical concept of community extends to the protection and care of children. It calls for individuals and communities to support and safeguard children, ensuring their safety and well-being. Psalm 82 verses 3 to 4. Justice and advocacy. The Bible calls for justice and protection for the vulnerable, including children. It condemns the mistreatment, abuse, and exploitation of children and encourages advocacy on their behalf. Proverbs 31, 8 to 9, and Isaiah 1, 17. The other one is teaching and training. The Bible emphasizes the importance of teaching children about God's ways, providing guidance and helping them to develop discernment and wisdom. This includes teaching them about safety and protecting them from harm. So Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 to 7, and Proverbs 22, 15. Deuteronomy 6 to 7 says, when you sit down with them, talk about them, teach them the word of God. When you are walking with them on the street, teach them the word of God. Wherever you are, teach them. So the Bible places this responsibility on parents, that we teach and train the children. Every child matters to God. Every child matters to God. Every child is unique and specially formed and fashioned, and each and every child that enters into this world is unique. This is the beginning of man's significance and dignity. Every child is unique. So it is not possible that all the children in your school, all the children in the class, that they all behave the same way. Some of them are abled differently. Some of them, every child is unique. And God intentionally, God loves diversity. So he intentionally created us like that. So the child is fearfully and wonderfully made. And they matter to God. God specifically instructed his people to honor the children in the congregation and to include them in the discussion of scriptures. I've talked about that. When children are harmed, I intentionally left this one for the last. When children are harmed and abused, the Heavenly Father comes to their rescue. The Bible says he defends the cause of the fatherless because he is a father to the fatherless. Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 18 and Psalm 68 verse 5. Psalm 68 verse 5. Bible says that God defends the cause of the fatherless. When we're watching the clip, these children, even when they tell and they're afraid, they cannot tell the teacher, because when they tell the teacher, they'll even be victimized the more. Sometimes they're even afraid to tell parents. My own child, when he was in school, there was a teacher beating him with the drumstick. He will hit his head. And the boy was not telling me. It was the sister who told me. And I said, why? He said, Mommy, I know that you will come to the school. And if you come to the school, then that will be the end of my, the end of my life. So they are afraid. They won't even talk about it. But the Bible says that God himself will come to their rescue. These biblical principles underscore the responsibility. All of us, it's our responsibility. If you're a child of God, so this conference is for Christian schools. So I believe that all of us here are Christians. And so this is what God expects of us when it comes to the protection and safety of children. He calls for us to be advocates for children. We must uphold the biblical mandate of protecting children to prevent harm whenever possible and respond appropriately if faced with the possibility of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. So let us understand child safety and protection. So these words, child safety, child security, child protection, child safeguarding, there are slight differences between them. Sometimes we even use them interchangeably. But for the purposes of our learning, I will draw the line between child safety and child protection. Now, when we talk about child safety is a component of child protection. So child safety refers to the measures and practices put in place to protect children from harm, injury, abuse, or danger. So it refers to the measures, the hands-on, the day-to-day things, those things that we put in place to protect children from harm, injury, abuse, or danger. It encompasses various aspects of a child's well-being, including their physical well-being, their emotional well-being, their psychological well-being, and their social well-being as well. Child safety measures help to create a secure environment that promotes a child's healthy development. Apostle spoke about it, and protects them from potential risks or threats. So it is quite broad. The things we must do, it is quite broad. Apostle was talking about even the food. The food that we give to the children in school, it has a component of child safety. All right? So child safety directly affects the well-being and future of children. It can be addressed in different contexts, such as the home, such as the school, such as the community, such as the church, or even online. And that is one thing that the online abuse, now that is also coming up very, very strongly. Online abuse. So they would tell, so in my church, many years ago, she was a young lady, not a child. She was still a child because she was below 18. And she found a friend on Facebook or whatever. And then the person, they were conversing. Parents didn't know anything. So the parents who give these gadgets to their children. Me, I'm an advocate of no gadgets until university. I am an advocate of no gadget. Now, the teachers will say, oh, we will send the notes. I will print the notes for you to write. Because, look, it is creating more harm. The children are not responsible enough. Sometimes, even in church, then we give them the gadgets. So, the children, we are teaching them that when you go to church, it doesn't matter. You can be on your phone. So, now they are youth, and they are sitting at the back. They like to sit at the back. They are sitting at the back. And pastor, you are here busy preaching. Forget. Because they are over there. They are on Snapchat. They are on Facebook. They are on Twitter. Name them. Okay. And it is what we have done it to them. We have given it to them when they were children in church. Please let them come to church. I'm not saying leave them on rampage so that they will disturb. When you are bringing the children to church, sit them down. These children, they hear. Sit them down. Talk to them. Sometimes reward systems. Today when we go to church, it is a house of God. I want you to sit down. God will be talking to you. So I want you to sit down and pay attention. When we come back, I will hear from you what God told you. When the children, sometimes they forget because they have a short attention span. But if their eyes meet your eyes, they'll remember what you told them before they came. So don't give them the gadgets in church. We are not helping the children. Okay, that was by the way. But I'm talking about online. So this girl, she found a friend. And then the friend said, oh, send me your nude pictures. So these things are happening every day. In your schools, they are happening. Class 6, class 5, JHS 1. They are doing all these things. So she sent the pictures. Then something happened between them. And then the boy said, you remember I have your pictures. I have your nude pictures. Your parents are respectable. They go to this church and that church. And if you don't do A, B, C, and D, I'm going to release the pictures. And the girl was under this blackmail for many months until she was able to confide in us. Those days we were handling the teenage class. So she confided in us. And then we did what we would do. And then the parents the day we were speaking about, the parents were crying. They were not aware about it. So online safety, some of them, the children, they are playing games online. And the game, you progress. So you will do this. At a point, you have to cut yourself. At a point, you have to do this. At a point, they are doing it in the home. Parents are in their room, children are in their room. There was a girl who told me, said, this abuse is going on. And I said, why didn't you shout? Listen carefully. I said, if this is happening, why didn't you shout? You're a stepbrother. This is a preschooler. Why didn't you shout? She said, when my mom and my dad come back from work, they are tired. So when they go to sleep, they put on headphones. So even when I shout, they can't hear. These are true life stories I'm sharing with you. That is why I'm so passionate when it comes to child protection and child safety. Okay, so it is, these things are going on. We need to ensure that the children are safe, even online. So sometimes, I know some of us are parents as well. Sometimes, if you have already given your children the phones, sometimes you need to take it, look at what it is that they are doing. It also involves identifying, I'm talking about child safety. It also involves identifying potential hazards, implementing preventive measures, and educating both children and caregivers about safety practices. So now when it comes to child protection, now we are talking about the philosophies. So what is the school's philosophy when it comes to protecting the child? So those are the philosophies. What are your policies? What are your standards? What are your guidelines and procedures to protect from all forms of intentional and unintentional harm? So whereas the child safety is talking about, that's what I'm saying, it's under this one. So that one is the things we do, the measures we put in place. But these are the philosophies. What's your school's philosophy when it comes to child protection? Do you have a policy in place? Every school should have a child protection policy. We'll talk about it. It refers to the safeguarding of children from violence, exploitation, abuse, and neglect. It means that as educators, we have the mandate to safeguard and respond to harm of all children in our schools. This can be done through the following. Number one, empower everybody. I think the clip has spoken, so I don't have to belabor the point. Empower everyone within the school community. And when I say empower everyone, I'm talking about all your stakeholders. So your teachers, your cooks, your staff, your outsourced services, the security man, the cleaners, the parents themselves, whatever, the fireman coming to do fire drills, and all of those people, you need to let them know. I'm talking about what the school's philosophy. Let them know what the school philosophy about protection. Let them know that it is a zero tolerance for abuse. Anybody coming into the school should know that. So you promote or you advocate for the effective protection of children from all forms of harm. Empower people so that they themselves, they know that is what you stand for, and that they will also buy into it. And then fully integrate child safety measures into the school system. I mean the everyday life of the school. And if time allows us, we'll talk about some of them. And then you prevent any form of abuse. Empowerment, when people are empowered, they are able to prevent any form of abuse. Then intervene or speak up if there are child safety and or protection concerns. So if people are empowered, they are able to speak up when there are concerns. Then the other thing that you can do is also to establish systems in the school that make it very difficult for anyone inclined to harm children to have access to them. Put in measures. That makes it, when my child, my second born, when he was a child, he was a preschooler, 3 years old. And And one day, he was in Accra whilst we were in ministry, so we were somewhere, I think Kitikrachi or somewhere like that. So he was with my parents. And the taxi driver who was supposed to go and pick the boy didn't go. So everybody had gone except my boy. And somehow my parents didn't call the school or something. So after many hours, like let's say around 5:30 thereabout, my father gets a taxi and he's going into the school to pick his grandson. On the way, he saw the 3-year-old boy walking home. And so when he saw the car coming, because my father saw him, he was moving close to the boy to stop so that he would pick. And the boy was afraid, so he was running away into the bush. So this boy, if anybody wanted to harm him, he was an easy prey. But our measures in school should be such that it is, even if somebody wanted to harm a child, it should be very difficult. And see, you see, the devil, when I say it's a bad devil, it's tautology. So let me forget about him. Now, I interviewed one teacher. The girl is excellent. I mean, you ask this question. By the time you are asking the next question, she has answered the question. And, you know, when the practical in the room, within 5 minutes, okay, the children in the room, there are not many. Within 5 minutes, she had memorized every child's name. So she doesn't say, hey, you mention your name. Nanake, do you have something? The girl is excellent. So we were in a hurry to recruit her. But, you know, you have to do background checks. You have to, as part of your recruitment, you need to do background checks, because the world in which we are, the people, unfortunately, most of the people who have the money, they are the people who don't fear God. So they are doing all kinds of things. Now we call them the alphabet community, because they've taken all the alphabet, LGBTQI+. So we call them the alphabet community now, because they've taken all the alphabets. And they are training people. They are training them, giving them high training, high skills, and releasing them into the system. So this particular lady I'm talking about was one of them. So when we did the background checks, then things started coming. Now, that is a system in place to prevent somebody, even if she wants to do harm, she cannot do harm. So you need to put in place systems so that you make it very difficult, even if they are inclined to harm children, so that they will not have access to them. Educate and empower children. So the education, child protection training is something you don't only do for your teachers, but when you are doing child protection training, it must be mandatory for all people you are working with who come into contact with the children. Education is very important. For those of you who have parents associations, some of your meetings, you need to dedicate them to talk about. Because some of the parents, they are clueless. They don't have a clue. They are clueless. So in some of our meetings, we need to use to do some of those things. Provide a positive and safe environment for children to learn and play. Engage the active commitment of staff and other caring adults who surround them to care for children with dignity, respect, and integrity at all times. Then, prevent and or reduce the risk of incidents of abuse through enforcing child protection policies. That's what I'm saying. You need, the first step is for your school to have a child protection policy in place. Strategies and processes. Now, the importance, I'm sure from the way I've spoken to this point, you will agree with me that child protection is important. So it is important for these other reasons. It's a legal and moral responsibility for your school. You know that I'm sure you all know it. As a private school, NASIA will not give you certificate if you do not have a child protection policy in place. Now, the danger is that we do it for NASIA. That's the danger. The danger is that we do it for NASIA, so we do it just to tick the box. But please, for your own sake, for the children's sake, don't do it for Nasia. Do it and do it well and implement it. So right now, if I come to your school and I even ask for, maybe you have it. You submitted it to Nasia. But if I come to your school and ask for a child protection policy, you will have to look through the files before you find it for me. But you have a legal and moral responsibility. So the law, it is the law, please. If something happens in the school, the first thing they will ask for is your child protection policy. So it is law. So if you don't have it, then you are already in trouble. If something happens, then you can't defend yourself. So please remember that it is important because it is the law. Then you also have a moral obligation, ethically. Schools have a duty of care to provide a safe environment. I brought my children to you. I went to a school. There was no teacher. One of my son's secondary school. I think the teachers, I don't know where they had gone to. There was no teacher. And the children were just on rampage. I could see boys smoking on the... There was not one teacher. I could see boys smoking on the compound. But I've brought my child to you. It's your responsibility to safeguard this child. And you don't do it. It's a moral obligation that we should do that. Somebody has brought their child to you. Please, you have a moral responsibility to do that. Then physical safety. That one, we talk about preventing injuries and accidents. So that one, I'm sure you know, your playground, the equipment you are using, some of them are very old, lack of maintenance culture. So the seesaw, the bouncing castle, all those things, we need to maintain them. Sometimes bolts and nuts, they are coming out, and these are children. They pick it, they put in their mouth. Sometimes tiles, things as simple as tiles. The tiles are too slippery. In my school, at a point, I had to put carpet because I realized that the tiles were too slippery. And the children, they don't know, they don't care. Apostle was saying that they need to do activity. So inherently, God loves children. Inherently, their body, they have internal motivation to do activity. So I asked him, go and bring me my cloth. From here to there, they will run. You will tell them. So sometimes I go and stand there and I say, I'm watching you walk. I don't want you to run. Then they will pass me and then they'll be looking back. They'll be looking back, ready to run. Ready to run. So we need to make sure that, some of those things. And sometimes the tiles, things are, that the thing they put on the tiles, like metal, sometimes they are coming off. A child can easily get injured. So little things like that. Things as simple as louver blades. The child, if it's a preschooler, do it in such a way that they cannot have access to it. Because they don't know that it will harm them. You see, so simple. Make sure that the physical environment is, because if a child gets hurt or a child gets injured, it's too much. So let's do that. Then you have to have emergency preparedness training in school. If there's a fire outbreak, what should happen? So the fire drills, it's also law. You must have a fire certificate, you must have the fire training, you must have the fire extinguishers. They have to come every now and then to do the training, to renew and all of that. Let us not do it just to tick the box, but let's do it because we want to protect these lovely kids. Then emotional and psychological well-being. We've spoken about it, the language that we use on them. Create a safe learning environment. There was another research that I read. The children say they feel safer at home than in school. So let's create a safe learning environment. And Apostle talked about supporting mental health. So I'll not go into that. And that is where counselors come to play. Academic success. It is important for academic success. Achieving desired learning outcomes. If the child feels safe and secure, they are free to learn. When you teach them, it enters their head properly. So it will help the children to do well. If children are abused, even when they were doing well, you see that they begin to retrogress. So sometimes you watch. This child used to do well. What is happening? Don't just beat them. Say wuti bong. Say wuti bong. Say momone. No. Yeah. Let's go into the issue. Sometimes they are going through things. It will also reduce absenteeism. It will build trust and relationships. It is important to build trust and relationships. It will foster trust in the school community. If abuse cases are not happening, and you know the parents, they talk, They talk among themselves. So if abuse cases are not happening, there is trust within the school community and the positive relationships. It also helps us to prevent, it helps us for early prevention and intervention. Apostle said, eagle eyes. I like that one. I'm going to add it to my notes. So early detection is very important. There's a parent who called me and said, oh, they've beaten my child. They've beaten my child. Look at the marks. I looked at the marks. And I said, don't worry. I was not in school at this time. I'll just go and look at the CCTV camera. Because if they really beat this child like this, then, so I went to look at it the whole day. And this particular child did not even step out of the classroom. The child was a very, very well-behaved child. She sat down quietly. So I looked at the marks again, and I told the parent that these are not cane marks. It is either allergies or it is either insect bites. And truly, when they went to the hospital, they found out. So if the teachers were observant, they would even have seen it before the parents came, if indeed it happened in the school. Okay, so it helps us for early detection and intervention. Let me run. I will not be able to talk about some of the child safety threats, but let me quickly talk about some current best practices in child protection and safety in schools. Now, in current best practice, all well-meaning schools, they have proper, comprehensive child protection policies in place. That one I cannot overemphasize it. You must have that in place. And in the child protection policy, every year training must be done. People must sign the protocol. They must sign the protocol that they have read, they have understood, and they will abide by it. Every year. And it's not only your staff, those who are on your payroll. There are people who are not on your payroll, but they come there regularly. And they have interaction with the children. Those people, if they want to continue business with you, they must also read, understand, and sign. Very, very important that we do that. Staff training and awareness. So we need to train our staff and create awareness. Let them become advocates. Let them become empowered. Themselves become advocates. Even on the streets, they become advocates. I've talked about screening and background check. They're all well-meaning schools. They will do proper screening. I know sometimes when a teacher leaves, they will leave without giving you notice. They will leave without giving you notice. So you are in a hurry to replace. They are going to write the exam. And the teacher has left. Oh, friend, will doom the phone. So you are in a hurry. So somebody comes, no, when will I do background check? Let them start teaching. But please, when it comes to child protection, you can't do that. You need to do screening and background. And I've told you, personal experience. So it's important. You must have a clear code of conduct. How do you behave with the children? Appropriate touching, inappropriate touching. The male teachers. So one time my daughter, and she's empowered. She said, "Mommy, I am even proud of myself." So the teacher, a private teacher, is teaching her. And when they sit, like the teacher is sitting, maybe giving assignments, helping her, then the teacher will be using the leg to be touching her leg. And she got up and told the teacher, "Is everything okay? Is everything okay?" She said, "I thought that mosquitoes were biting you." and then conversation went on and on and on. But the teacher himself, he realized that the girl is not somebody that you can joke around with. So clear code of conduct. Teachers cannot be doing that with children. They cannot be touching them anyhow. And we also teach the children. You see that girl, she said, "My mother said nobody should touch my private part." Okay, so we need to teach them. Safe physical environment. I've talked about that. The environment is safe. When you enter the environment, there's a fire exit, there is an entry, there is an exit. If something happens, children know where they have to gather, so on and so forth. Emergency preparedness is also part of it. Then positive relationships. Children must not be afraid of teachers. You see, they must respect us because we are nurturing them. They must respect us, but they must love us. When they see you coming, they should be happy that you are here. But at the same time, they should also know that you will not tolerate indiscipline. Okay, so it's important. You promote positive relationships, encouraging open communication. They encourage open communication. The children cannot talk in the school because when they talk, they are dead. They cannot. And if a parent comes to say, my child told me this, they come to tell me the principal. I've done that with the principal. I said, principal, I don't want to deal with the teacher. That's what I've come to tell you, and I need you to address it. So I left. Then my children come home. Hey, mommy, you came to the principal. Why did you do that? And I said, what happened? He said, they came to the class. They came to the classroom. And they came to talk. Mommy, you are the only one who has a mother. And all kinds of things like that. So encourage, because it tells you, if the parents talk, Apostle said, have eagle eyes. You will not be able to see everything. But the children, they see, they know. All the children having relationship, the classes, class 2, going to the washroom. The children, they know. When they tell their parent come to tell you. Observe, investigate, and do something about it. You see, so encourage open communication. Then you have to respond to concerns. If they give you concern, don't say we are addressing it. The solution is the pipeline. It's been in the pipeline for 3 years. You need to address. And then in the school, it should be a child-centered approach. Everything we are doing should be in the best interest of the child. And then, as Apostle said, we will regularly monitor and evaluate our child protection policies. Check in and check out procedures. Children don't just come in and they don't just go. You don't even know when the child left. Who is coming down? There are smart school management systems. When the parent is even coming, they log in. So you see it, the head teacher, whoever is responsible will see it, that the teacher is here, the parent is here, they are coming. If they are not able to come, there's something that goes on. Everybody has a code. All these things are in place that we can also do. Now, having said all of these things and my time is up, you have a role. You have a responsibility. You have a biblical mandate. You have a moral responsibility that the child that has been entrusted in your care, that you take care of them. You don't know what these children are going to be in future, but by all means, these children will be great. And as I said, when the children, when they stand on a platform like this, what do you want them to say about you? In conclusion, Jesus said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." This morning, our dear director told us, Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, whatever we do, we should do it as unto the Lord. Jesus said that if you do it for the least of these ones, you have done it to him. It's my prayer that after this conference, our schools, those of us here, our schools will be the most safe and secure places where children will ever be. I know that the Lord will give us the strength and the grace to be able to do that. Amen. Now, there is this book. Pastor Dr. Ebenezer Palam. He wrote this book, Our Children, the Place of Child Protection. This is for the church's ministry, but a lot of the things in here can be applicable to the school. If you get a copy, it will help you. He takes his time to actually go into how you can even prepare your own child protection policy. And even the biblical mandate that I've spoken about, he actually gives the theological mandate as well. So please, I'm just encouraging you. You can have a copy and it will be a blessing. Amen.
You can do it better.
Mommy, God bless you. We are so grateful. I think at this point, if you have any questions, please, if you have questions, just come up front so that we can take all the questions and then Mommy will respond. Then we zoom into prayer, then we can go and have lunch. So please, any more? Otherwise, when he finishes, that would be that. So if you have a question, please come forward. We want to take all the questions right away. If you have a question, come forward, please. Please, are you coming?
Thank you. Please, my name is Mattison Yeboah, PPS in Koko. I have 2 questions, madam. The first one, how do we empower our children yet prevent pride and disrespect? Then the second one, how worried should we be when schools allow and encourage secular dance and music as a means of co-curricular activity? Thank you.
Okay, please, my question is, some of the measures you've given us in regard to child safety, most of them can be well practiced at well-endowed schools. Now, I want you to break it down to schools where that are not well endowed, maybe schools, comparing schools in the city that can do well than those in the rural areas. Then the next one has to do with if we have situations in our schools where child abuse goes on, but until the parent comes to report, you wouldn't know. And sometimes the parents will fail to report because they think that their children will be victimized the more. So parents who are not having the courage like you to come and report, how can we handle such situations? Thank you.
Third person, Mommy will answer, and then the last 3 would also have their question. Please, no one should join again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, my question is, there is a school, the child at home, it says an uncle was asked to join the family. The father is outside the country, and the mother is here. And the mother's brother has been asked to join the family. And the mother's brother is abusing the girl sexually. But she is afraid to report because when she does, she doesn't know what will happen to her in the family. So how do we go about it?
Praise God. Okay. So the first question was, how do we empower and prevent pride and disrespect? I think when I was talking, I even mentioned something like that. You know, by all means, you empower how do you empower the children? You empower them through education. You empower them through trainings. You empower them through interaction with them and taking them through some of these things. Let them know that they can speak up. Okay, but the fact that you are speaking up does not mean that you will also do it in a prideful manner or you do it with pride. So I talked about the fact that, yes, children love you. They can come to you. They can confide in you. But at the same time, they also respect you. Okay, so it's very, very important that we are able to build the barriers. The fact that you are empowering the child does not mean that anything goes. When we talk about child protection and prevention, we are not talking about not disciplining a child when they do wrong. Okay, so let children know that actions have consequences. All right, I mean, we didn't have time to talk about all that. How do we manage classroom and classroom behavior and all of those things? There are ways of doing it. So children know that certain behaviors have consequences, and it is all part of the training. So children will grow up to be confident. They are empowered, but they also know that actions have consequences. So when you disrespect an adult, it has consequences, and they know that. So please do that. Make sure we are not child protection and safety does not throw discipline, out of the window. It goes hand in hand, actually. And then somebody also asked about secular music. Somebody also asked about secular music, that how should we be worried? I think that was the question. Should we be worried when secular music is being promoted in the school? Is that what you said? Yes. Yeah, so I'm finding it difficult why we should allow it. Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to understand why we should allow it in a Christian school. Music is food for the soul. So when we allow secular music, then there is no difference between. In fact, when I came and Apostle was speaking, one of the things that was running in my mind, and thank you for asking this question, I think that we gathered here, please, let's be the gatekeepers. It is not everything that is happening everywhere. Some of the children, they themselves, they are singing the secular music, the secular songs and all of that. But it should not be your school where they are learning it. That's one. It should not be your school where they are learning it. I mean, if they want to do choreography, there are lots of gospel music that they can use to do it. So they don't have to sing secular music before they can do it. So for me, I will be worried. If I came into a Christian school, say PPS, and they were singing secular music, I'll be very worried about that. So we should be worried. Yeah, the answer is yes. And then somebody talked about a lot of the things I mentioned are for the well-endowed schools. How about the schools which are not so endowed? So things like, for example, can you give me an example? I mean, things like, let's say, closed-circuit television, CCTV. Okay, you may not be able to install CCTV in your, but you need to, whatever it is, you need to put mechanisms in place that you are catching those things. That is why I'm saying encourage open communication. The children themselves can be the CCTV. The children themselves. Parents can be the CCTV. So encourage open communication. Talk about it. Let the children know that you can speak up. Nobody is going to do anything. And when one child does it and nothing is happening, then the other children will also know that indeed this is true. But sometimes we say it with our mouth, but as human as we are, when they come and say it, when they turn their back, then it's a different story. But let's be true to our word. If you don't have money to do the CCTV, you can empower your children so that when you see something, say something. Okay, when you see something, say something. And the children themselves and the teachers, Apostle said, have eagle eyes. Have eagle eyes. So that is that. And but by all means, within your means, within your context, you need to be able to put mechanisms in place where children will be safe. Then you also asked the question about some parents will not come and report. It's because they are afraid. It's because they are afraid. They are afraid that when they come and report, what you do is because the children are also afraid. In fact, in our community, when a child is sexually abused, normally we will say that I was actually reading a research where they asked teachers the causes of sexual abuse among girls. One of the responses was that, and it was quite high, was that the children are enticing the teachers. The children are enticing the teachers. So sometimes we will say that we will rather blame the child. Okay, but when we do the education, when we empower them, they know how to speak up. When you have your parents association meetings, you can tell them, please, that is why I talked about open communications, trusting relationships, and all of that, so that they are able to come out and speak about these things, because you cannot do it alone. And these things will go on and go on until one day it becomes a problem. So we have to stop it at a certain point. So let's encourage. You can only encourage. You can only educate. You can only empower. You can only create awareness. As you do these things with time, and give it time. With time, everything will be fine. Then you talked about sexual abuse. I had a similar situation. The girl who said the parents have the earphones. The parents have the earphones, so even when she shouts, they cannot hear. So what I did was, I developed, all the parents really, we have a good relationship with them. So and the reason I got to know was that the girl was her behavior was changing. So I called the mother, and interestingly, the mother is a police officer. So I called her, and then we just struck a conversation, and we're talking about it. She's a young parent, so we're just talking parenting all over the place and all of that. Then when I saw that she had opened up, and I just chipped it in. I told her that this is what your girl said, and she's afraid. And she told me that the boy in question was staying with her mother, and she was doing that to some children. Then I said, hey, so she was doing that to... Now, because she's a police officer, they felt that when he comes, he will be afraid. But some of these things, they don't go easy. They don't go easy. So when I told her, she quickly made the boy go. So the children cannot say it, but and before you also say it, before you tell the parents, because this is home, before you need the child's consent. So you have to bring the child to a point where she trusts, and you have to assure her that in the way and manner in which I will do it, mommy will not be angry. I know how to talk to mommy. If the child says no, then no. You need the child's consent. Please, you understand that before you can say. So you need to build the relationship. But by all means, the child has to be put in a place of safety, and then prayer also works. Prayer also works. So you pray about it, you pray with the child, and God will open a way so that by all means we are able to address these issues. Thank you.
Mommy, please, my case is that I don't normally receive series of complaints for insulting at home. It's so amazed because I never see a teacher insulting in the class for a child to learn. But though I don't even challenge the parents. So if it happens like that, how am I going to solve it? Assuming that it happened, just that I don't.
It's coming from home. the behavior is coming from home.
Yeah, they complain. I do have the complaint from the parent that when the child comes to the house, the child does insult in the house. And the parent was saying that maybe perhaps the child learned from the school. Now I don't also see a teacher insulting in the school before. So I don't know. So my question is that if it happened that it is a school that is happening, how am I going to solve it? How am I going to work?
All right, thank you.
At the end of the day to stop.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Okra Banyefi. Please. My question is, in terms of provision of social intervention, we, the private school, we are handling the children. Hello? We, the private school, we are handling the citizens of Ghana or the country. Meanwhile, the children belong to the government. And when there are certain things that we need in the school, and the government is supposed to provide it, they always say that we, the private school, we are in the business, we have to provide ourselves. Meanwhile, everything that we do, we take it from the parents. And some parents could not afford those things that will charge or will pay the children. And I'm asking, why is the government not providing certain social amenities to the private school? Thank you.
All right. I want to find out, please, when you were talking, you made mention of the fact that some of the liabilities that occur in terms of some of the employees that the private school owners employ, they may be in the frolic of their own. They will do certain things that maybe you may not sanction. But you said that it doesn't mean that even though they may be dealt with, it doesn't mean that private school owners too may be exculpated from blame. I want to find out in what ways are owners held liable when some of these issues happen.
All right, thank you. So let me start from that one because I haven't written that. Yeah, so I was talking about the need for the child protection policy to be in place. And I'm saying that if you don't have it in place and something happens, the law will come for the school. But if you have the child protection policy in place, the protocols are in place, your teachers have signed to it, at least when you go to court, it will be the teacher against the state, not the school against the state. I hope you understand that. So if you don't have the policy in place, if you don't have the protocols, your people are not signing, and something, they flout, there's an abuse that happens in the school, then you have to go and face it because you haven't put anything in place to safeguard the children. But if you have it in place, then there is the perpetrator, because the perpetrator assigned to it and everything. You have all these things in place. The perpetrator will now face the state. Please, do you understand that? That is why it is important that you do. And sometimes, even for me, sometimes it's not just the law. It's not just it's about the harm to the child. The harm to the child. Most of the time, this CCTV and things, it is good. It is good when it becomes a deterrent. But sometimes they know part that the CCTV is there, but they know that nobody watches it. So they know it's there and they are misbehaving. So you shouldn't just have the cameras there. It should be continuously monitored so that they know. And you call them. Sometimes, I have it on my phone. So I see, maybe the children have been left alone. Nobody is attending to them. The teacher is somewhere. Then I'm seeing it on my phone. I will call the school quickly. And I will tell the head, go to this so-and-so class. Go and check. One child has picked a chair. And when he goes, he will find exactly. So they know that we are monitoring it. Okay, so I think that the policy in place will help us to prevent and mitigate these abuses. But in the unlikely events where it happens, when you have a policy in place, it helps you, it saves you. Then he was asking about why is government not helping the private schools And because they say we are in business. I don't know, maybe that one, somebody will help me to answer that question. Somebody will help me answer that question. Maybe director will help me answer that question. Then the other one is about the insults. Yeah. Sometimes parents also, they are in a difficult situation because they are there alone with a child. Maybe it's that the mother, the father, and the child. They don't even have a house help. And they don't have all this language. The only place the child goes is to the school. And then, so the child comes and then starts using some of these abusive language. So the only likely place where they could have learned it is from the school. So when you put your ears to the ground and make sure beyond every reasonable doubt that it's not coming from your teachers. Now, another thing I also realized that sometimes some of those languages are coming from the children. Because children are coming from different homes. In fact, there was one girl, I didn't sack her, but the parent said she couldn't abide by the rules of the school. So I said, okay, if that's the case, then we couldn't. And because the girl, her language was bad. And when you engage her, she would say, oh, this is how my mother speaks. This is how my mother speaks. And you see, when the issue happened, I took the mother's number and I saved it. And sometimes I will see her status. You know, when you save somebody's number, you will see the status. And mine, oh my. Mine, oh my. So it was a problem. And then she would say that, she would say something like, I will deal with you. You will never forget. Then she would say, my mother said I should tell her. My mother said I should tell. And unfortunately, there's a single mother also. So I called the mother. Hey, she was even coming to beat me in the school. She was coming to beat me in the school. So I wrote her a letter. And I articulated, and it was not once, it was not twice. We have called her several times, and every time I will document. Anytime we call her, you know, there's a logbook, I will document everything. So when it went on, I called her, and I wrote a letter, and I said, this and this and this and this has happened. We have spoken about this. Now, at the point where I want you to understand that you will do this, you will do this, you do, so that we can continue providing service to your child. She said she will never be able to do that. She will not sign anything. She will not, and she was all over the place. I said, I mean, if that's it's your choice. It's your choice. But if your child will continue to come here, then you must help us help your daughter. So she withdrew the child, and I didn't have any regrets at all. My only regret is that, and I keep praying for that girl, my only regret is that I pray that she will grow up to become a responsible person in future. But when it's affecting other children, then it becomes an issue. So don't only watch the teachers, sometimes also the children. Some of them are using bad language. So sometimes it's not just the children. So you do your investigations properly and satisfy yourself beyond every reasonable doubt that truly it's not coming from the school. If it's coming from the school, then put measures in place to curb it. Thank you.